total market cap hits an all-time high of $830 billion. Coin market cap causes an unnecessary correction. Jamie Dimon puts his tail between his legs and takes back his negative comments about Bitcoin. The market takes a dip while Ethereum goes on the run. We speak to some of the biggest names in crypto to get their view on the outlook for 2018. And the pawn industry gets spanked by a brand new token. It's our first show of 2018. The market cap is $700 billion. I'm Crypto Man Run, and you're watching Crypto Trader, the world's only televised cryptocurrency investment show brought to you by CNBC Africa. We're going to jump right into 2018 by asking some of the biggest names in crypto what they are looking out for this year. We've got a panel of crypto's finest, starting off with Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is the host of Fast Money in New York City. He has 72,000 Twitter followers. Brian, compliments of the season to you. Let's get started with you. 2017 surpassed any expectation that any of us had. We started the year off with a market cap of $15 billion, and we ended off at $600 billion. Brian, what are you expecting for 2018?
Crazy year. In 2018, I think things calmed down a little bit, but really the biggest thing, the theme that I'm hitting on this year that I'm really starting to see emerge are securities tokens, or tokens that are equity in companies that are registered under the securities laws, whether they be here in the US or globally, different jurisdictions. But I think that's going to be the big thing in 2018.
Securities tokens are certainly the flavor of the month. These tokens are effectively crypto tokens that are classified as securities by the regulators and therefore require regulated trade. Brian, are there any entry points into this up-and-coming segment?
Well, so T0 is probably the biggest one right now, and I'm an advisor on that. That's Overstock's exchange. There's also Liquid M. Vince Molinari is doing Liquid M. I think he has an alternative trading platform, alternative trading system. And then Polymath as well is coming out. So there's a couple different ways to play this thing.
Brian, last year there was a period where alts and specifically ICOs were out of favor. That's all turned, and today alts are running wild and Bitcoin seems to be like this stable, almost boring coin. Where is this altcoin coming from?
Well, at least here in the States, and I think globally, you're starting to see a lot of retail investors start to play this market. I mean, if you look at the US dollar volume of cryptocurrency trading, the United States dollar is really starting to pick up steam, maybe taking the torch a little bit from Korea. And so what's happened, at least what I've noticed anecdotally, is people who started on Coinbase and bought Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe some Litecoin have now discovered Bittrex and Poloniex, and they're looking out there and everybody's trying to find what's going to be the next Bitcoin or what's going to be the next one that goes up. So I think you're seeing that phenomenon where people are exploring the ecosystem, and that's kind of all the money that's come in is now leaking out to the edges into the altcoin sector.
What does this mean for Bitcoin in 2018? Do you think that we can write off Bitcoin as a stable store of value cryptocurrency while money moves into the altcoins?
So if the futures market continues to grow, and we're very, very early in that, I do think that the futures will have a volatility dampening effect on Bitcoin. So relative to other coins, Bitcoin might look like the more stable coin, if you will. Clearly not a stable coin, but stable coin as we think about it in this industry. But in terms of, compared to some of the altcoins, Bitcoin may not have as much volatility.
I'm not going to ask you about specific tokens, but I am going to ask you about sectors. And specifically, I do know that you're very excited about the launch of Cosmos. Tell us why.
Some of these platforms, the biggest one that I'm looking forward to coming out this year is Cosmos. Of course, I'm an investor in that, so I'm talking my own book here, but that's what you asked. But I like the idea with Cosmos, the Internet of Blockchains. I get scalability. I get effectively infinite scalability. So I'm really excited to see that solution come live.
Brian, are there any sectors or categories that you're looking at? I must say, I'm a huge believer in the anonymity coins or the privacy coins.
I think the anonymity has a place in 2018 for sure. As more people realize that Bitcoin is not as anonymous as maybe they thought it was before. There's certainly some people that want to get into that. I also think when you think about the anonymous coins or something like a Zcash or a Monero, there's more of a use case than just the nefarious use cases. If I'm sending you, or probably more likely you're sending me $100 million, maybe you don't want the whole world to know that you just sent that to me. So you might want to do it with a privacy coin. So I think there's something to that. Other sectors too, I think in general, any of the platforms, so Ethereum, Neo, any of these that I can write a smart contract on top of, I think you're going to see the smart contract area really explode. So I want to be involved in any of the what I would call platforms.
Brian, I don't know how closely you've been watching the exchanges and the related tokens, but it seems like the major exchanges have all stopped taking on new signups or new customers. They simply can't handle the volume. Now, I've been watching the tokens that the exchanges have issued, and specifically the KU Coin token and the Binance token. The KU Coin token has returned over 200x returns in the last month and a half. And the Binance coin has had a pretty similar performance. It seems like exchanges may be the place to be. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, listen, people want into this market. And so just knowing human behavior, they're going to figure out ways to get what they want. And so if Binance is the beneficiary of that, then Binance coin will likely be the beneficiary. If you shut things off and tell people that they can't have it, it generally makes people want it more. So I think that's what's going on with a lot of these coins.
Vinny Lingam, I'm moving over to you. Vinny is the founder of Civic. He has over 105,000 Twitter followers. Vinny, compliments of the season to you. You and I are good friends, and I know that 2017 was indeed a great year for you. What are you looking out for in 2018? Are you calling for this big correction?
Look, it's very clear that this is going mainstream or has gone mainstream already. So there's a lot of money flowing into crypto. The rate of money coming into crypto is going to push the market cap of crypto well over, 1 trillion. We're already on the doorstep of 1 trillion. So you can probably look at 2 trillion at least. How fast does it get up? How big does it get? I don't know. Are we in a bubble? Sure. Why? Because the speculative values of these companies and tokens far exceeds the actual real utility and use cases. But there's money to be made, and I think people are going to keep buying, and hopefully there'll be some winners like Google out of the .com era, etc. We're seeing so many scams right now that it's going to attract the eye of regulators, and I think you're going to have regulators going in and shutting down exchanges potentially. It's already kind of happening in some parts of the world. You're going to get exchanges being hacked. I think there's a huge trend towards decentralized exchanges and smart contracts governing the exchange process. I think anyone who tries to predict what happens in 2018 is going to be wrong. But I can say that the general trends are this is not going away.
This is indeed not going away. You speak of a market cap of about $2 trillion at the end of 2018. That would only be a 2.5x returns. Now, in normal markets, that's a great return. But in crypto, 2.5x, not very exciting. Vinny, do you agree with me that 2017 will be the best year that we've ever had, and probably the best year that we will have in our lifetime in any sector?
I don't think getting from 800 billion to 10 trillion in a year is going to be easy. This is the law of large numbers, and that would require a lot of fiat flowing into the system unabated. Who knows? Anything's possible at this point. I think I think we're going to see security tokens being traded. But I'm very bullish, but I also say that there's a lot of danger here.
What about the institutional money? That money is not in yet, and probably for the first time in history, the retail guys have got in before the institutional guys. Is that money coming in 2018?
Yeah, I think the institutional money is coming in. It's going into funds, and it's going into Bitcoin and Ethereum and the bigger, more stable coins in terms of market cap and size. I've been chatting to some institutional investors. It looks like literally the guys are spreading their money between Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, some Monero, some Zcash, a little bit of Litecoin here. Those are the sort of flavors of the stuff that they're willing to touch right now. The stuff that's a little unproven, the newer stuff, they're like willing to sit on the sidelines and lose some upside. They might allocate a small percentage of their money there, but I think the bigger coins will be the biggest beneficiaries, and that's not going to push the market cap where you're suggesting like 10 trillion. It needs to go into the smaller ones to do that, because as you know, the Bitcoin dominance is 30% right now, and a lot of money needs to go into there. Well, will go in there, but not push up the overall market cap too much.
Now you've opened a can of worms because you have controversial views on Bitcoin. Where do you see Bitcoin and specifically Bitcoin dominance at the end of 2018? And does it even matter anymore?
It all depends, though. If there's a shakeout in the altcoin sector, the Bitcoin dominance goes up to 50, 60, 70%. You know, it can rise. I think it's a tough call, but I would say it's probably going to decline down to 20% if crypto keeps expanding as an overall. If the crypto sector goes to 2 trillion, I think Bitcoin dominance is probably 2 trillion to 3 trillion, probably be 20%.
Riccardo, Fluffy Pony, Spagni, I'm coming to you next. Riccardo is the lead maintainer of the Monero project, or the XMR coin. Riccardo, XMR had an amazing year last year in 2017. We started the year at $13. We finished at $350. Do you think that crypto momentum will carry on into 2018?
You know, it's an interesting thing because I guess I would say yes if there was a strong indication that there's going to be an ever-flowing amount of money coming into the market. But the reality is that at some point it has to saturate. And I don't know what point that is, but when that comes, then invariably there's going to be a correction. When there's a correction, people get spooked and then there's a sell-off. And the sort of people that are entering the market now are hairdressers and plumbers, and they're not patient capital. So when there is a sell-off, when the market gets spooked, you can bet that they're not going to hodl through it, and we might see a bit of a tumble.
So we have a situation where the fickle money is in the market, but the institutions haven't even started playing the game. Will the institutional money create the big spike this year?
So here's my theory, right? I'm thinking that traditionally what happens with any sort of vehicle like this is you have those institutional investors coming in early on. Well, not early on, but sort of relatively early on. And they're followed up by the hairdressers and the plumbers. And that's normally the point at which you get out. And with crypto, we're seeing like this complete reversal where the people that are coming on board as investors now are the sort of retail investors, and the FIs and the sort of more patient capital are still holding back. And when they do come on board, yes, there probably will be another run up. I would imagine so. And how sustainable that is, I don't know. But how soon that is really the question. And I'm not feeling like it's going to be massively soon. I think that there might be a wait and see attitude amongst patient capital.
At the risk of calling you one of the OGs, you've been around for a while. What is your personal investment strategy in a time like this?
So anyone who's been around for a while, anyone who's been around since 2011, 2012, you know, we had this whole like, oh, you know, fundamentals are very important. And over time, I think a lot of us have realized that market movements are not happening based on fundamentals. There's not a lot of careful evaluation that's happening where people are going, oh, you know, this thing has got a strong team and it's, you know, based on this. And I've read the white paper and I've understood the white paper. They're going, well, this guy's got a lot of followers on Twitter, so his product must be good, which is completely the wrong way to evaluate anything. So the little bit of play money that I throw at things, I tend to throw at things that have got good hypeability. You know, well, Disney touched this, it's gonna pump. Shut up and take my money, rather than, oh well, you know, where are the strong fundamentals happening? Which is sad, but it's the case for all of us OGs who are not averse to making money in 2018.
Certainly a very scary thought when people are investing based on hypeability. Riccardo, you talk about the OGs and they all hodl Bitcoin. Are you one of these avid Bitcoin hodlers? Are you hodling your Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been involved with Bitcoin since early 2011. And in terms of the sort of breakup of my crypto holdings right now, the largest amount in terms of US dollars, the largest amount is in Bitcoin. I'm still very confident in Bitcoin's longevity.
You mentioned that your largest holding is Bitcoin. I would have imagined that your largest holding would be Monero.
So yeah, I mean that's a a common misconception. Again, getting into Monero right at the beginning, I mined a lot, and I also sold a lot when it hit exchanges, because I didn't really think that Monero was going to last particularly long. It was a very new project, a very fresh project. We had no idea what we were doing. It's a very different story now, but at the time, none of us really had confidence in Monero's longevity. As things progress and as time passes, then your confidence grows. But Bitcoin has lasted for such a long period of time. It gives me a lot more confidence, and it makes it more reasonable to conclude that Bitcoin is going to be around for many years to come, many decades to come, hopefully.
Look, with a 30x return last year, I bet you're kicking yourself. Are you bullish on the anonymity tokens in general for 2018? Would you say this is one of the best sectors to be in?
I don't know if it's going to outperform everybody. I'm not a very good price analyst, or I'm not very good at TA. I look at a graph and I go, people go, oh, you look at the head and shoulders pattern, and I go, oh, like the shampoo. So, I'm the wrong person to talk about like TA and price movements. But I guess definitely fungibility is an important aspect, especially as we start to look at cryptocurrencies as currencies, as mediums of exchange. Then the aspect or the fungibility component is going to become ever more important. And fungibility is really about on-chain fungibility more than anything with the current set of digital currencies.
Scalability is, of course, one of the biggest topics in crypto today. Is the Monero coin, as it stands today, scalable?
No, not at all. No. Monero scalability is horrible. Our transactions are bigger than Bitcoin's. We can't throw away unspent transaction outputs because you never know if they're spent or not. So on-chain scaling with Monero, we'll always continue to try and improve it as best we can, but on-chain scaling with Monero is kind of a waste of time if we had to pursue that solely. So we will continue as a development work group and as a community, we'll continue to pursue all sorts of scaling options. We're looking at things like, can we build out a Mimblewimble sidechain on Monero? Can we build out a Lightning router so that Monero is plugged into the Lightning network and can do atomic swaps with Bitcoin and Litecoin? And other things, like Tumblebit as a way of enhancing Monero users' privacy on the Lightning network. And over and above that, we are, like I said, focused on on-chain scalability. But just by virtue of the added privacy cost, we're never going to be as relatively efficient as Bitcoin.
Matti Greenspan is the chief market analyst at eToro and a very big name in crypto. Matti, I do want to ask you about 2018, but before I ask you about 2018, I want to ask you about the unnecessary FUD and the unnecessary correction that CoinMarketCap caused earlier this week. They took the market down by 20%. What actually happened?
So basically, CoinMarketCap is one of the largest websites, not just for cryptocurrencies, but one of the largest websites in the world, ranked at about the same level as Alibaba, the commercial giant in China. They basically did an unprecedented move where they changed their data to exclude pricing from South Korean exchanges. They did this without any prior announcement, and it caused a lot of confusion in the market.
Matti, why would they want to remove the South Korean exchanges from the pricing?
Basically, the South Koreans generally pay about 20% to 25% more per coin than the rest of the world. This is a known fact. But on the other hand, they also create more volume than the rest of the world. So sometimes they could be trading up to 40% of the entire volumes in the world. So what CoinMarketCap are claiming is that that premium, which is known as the Kamichi premium, that they're paying more per coin, was skewing their data. So basically, they were saying that they were showing an inflated price because the South Koreans are willing to pay more. However, it doesn't really make sense because that actually is a price that is being traded by a good portion of the market.
Okay, so let me make sure that I actually understand this. The Koreans are paying a premium for crypto, and the premium is actually really being paid. And the premium pricing was biasing the data, so CoinMarketCap decided to remove the Korean exchange pricing, causing a drop in the market cap. Then investors saw this and started panicking, and that created a further sell-off. Is that what actually happened?
Exactly, because most crypto traders in the world, and I know that blockchain is supposed to be decentralized and all that, but unfortunately, too many people were relying on this one website for receiving their price information. They looked at the website, and without any explanation, they saw the prices were 15, 20% lower than it was the last time they checked. Then they immediately thought that there might have been some sort of sell-off. People were panicking just on that, and many people, in fact, closed their positions, causing further sell-off in the market, prices to decline further.
Okay, enough about the past. Let's move to 2018. What are you seeing for 2018?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to stop the clock and start it again on January 1st. So January should be the same, pretty much the same atmosphere as December. In this market, it's very difficult to see tomorrow, let alone until the end of the year. But so far, we've seen an amazing continuation.
Matti, I know you've been following this because we spoke earlier today. There's been a huge move from Bitcoin into the other coins, specifically the altcoins and ICOs. What's causing this move?
Well, it's certainly a theme for the moment. I think that there's an issue at the moment where there's a lot of newcomers in the market, and they seem to be focusing in on the price per coin metric and saying, look, this coin right now is extremely cheap, and they're mistakenly equating that with undervalued.
Matti, you can't be serious. You're saying that people are buying Ripple because it costs $2 and they think it may go to $15,000 like Bitcoin.
That's correct. Unfortunately, that's quite impossible. I did the math yesterday. For Ripple to go up to $1,000 per coin, it would need to be, the entire market cap would need to be worth about $38 trillion, which is twice the size of the US deficit. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I think everybody knows my viewpoints on XRP at this price. Matti, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you buying or selling XRP at this price?
I've been holding Ripple long-term since 2013, 14. Not willing to sell any of my long-term holdings. I did some short-term trading on that price rise. I'm out of it by now, and I have no reason to touch it at the moment. I don't see momentum. To divide it into market caps, I actually favorite the large caps. So Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. Ethereum is my absolute favorite. I believe that there's the most use cases of all the cryptocurrencies, smart contracts. It has the most amount of transactions. And I think that even being at the second as far as market cap, it's still quite undervalued as far as the future potential of this technology.
Brock Pierce, I'm coming to you next. Brock Pierce is the chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation. Brock, 2017 was the year that you've been waiting for and preparing for your whole life. And even with all that preparation, I bet that it even exceeded all your expectations. What happens next?
Yeah, 2017 exceeded my wildest expectations. I knew this day would come. I knew that eventually people would wake up and take notice and start to understand the technology. And so that's happened, and it's happening fast. So it's been an exciting year, and that's not going to slow down. I mean, some of the biggest things you can expect, or what's driven a lot of it, is Wall Street is essentially finally woken up. Jamie Dimon, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but Jamie Dimon had made all of these very negative remarks in the context of Bitcoin a couple of weeks back. That's kind of fired up the community. He apologized today for his statement and said that he's probably wrong. And so what you're seeing is the banks have now taken a deep dive into the space and they're starting to invest. But it's just the beginning. And when only a small number of the banks have started to do this and it's caused this sort of impact on the price, wait till what we see this year. I think that that's probably going to be the biggest driver. That combined with adoption. I think we're looking at exponential adoption. I think that we could see the cryptocurrency community, which is still very nascent. It's like the early days of the internet. I think we could see it go up 10 to 100x this year. And so the combination of adoption and new capital flowing in, I'm very excited.
What about the thesis that the plumber and the hairdresser are in this market and that we now have the perfect storm to create this correction that everyone's talking about?
So I think that we could experience a crash at any point. I mean, look at the internet, look at other industries. I mean, price is the primary barometer of sentiment. And so, emotions, sentiment can change because they're not directly connected to fundamentals. And so the fundamentals are not going to stop. They're going to keep chugging along, incredible innovation happening, but price can have big fluctuations. But over an extended period of time, it's going to go up if you're in the right things. Obviously, those communities have to succeed in executing on, the vision that they've been promising people. But I think the banks are already in. I think the institutions are in. Yes, there could be a crash and they'll come in more, but I think the wave of institutions is already on. And I think consumer adoption is going to continue to happen at a very accelerated pace. But yeah, we could see the price drop because of anything, black swans, anything can happen. Obviously, regulation is something where it's all been good thus far, but who knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, generally it'll be all good, but some days it's going to rain.
Brock, are there any specific sectors that you're actually looking into? I know you've always been kind of a leading indicator. Any sectors that you're looking into?
Well, I'm always trying to focus kind of at the tip of the spear. I'm trying to see where, kind of the innovation is happening and where the market timing is right. Like all of the pieces are in place for something to happen. That's why I like to be on the front of the innovation, but I don't want to be too far in front of it either, because some ideas are just not ready. The infrastructure isn't there. We don't have the bridges, the roads, and the tunnels to do some things. And so I'm really excited. This year, the big thing that's, is we're going to start to see scalable blockchains. A lot of the big ideas that have existed for a long time haven't been possible yet because the fees are too high or the network is too slow or it's not scaled yet. But we're going to see the beginning of scalable blockchains this year. So obviously that is going to be a big enabler. I mean, this is, something that should enable a quantum leap forward. Kind of everything that we've dreamed is now going to become possible. So that's going to be exciting. Other sectors, obviously, I think we're going to start to see impact on securities markets. We did that last year. I did the first tokenization of a security with blockchain capital. So I think that securities are going to become a huge deal this year, not just utility tokens. I think by 2019, the security tokens will surpass utility. That could even happen this year. So I'd say that's a big thing to pay attention to. I think you're going to start to see all sorts of interesting stuff with governance. I think you're going to start to see interesting things with identity. I think you're going to see interesting things around healthcare. All of the big ideas, shipping, logistics, all of the big ideas that we've been talking about, I think are going to start to happen this year. I like the internet affected every industry. The blockchain is going to affect every industry.
So all these applications are finally coming to life. What about Bitcoin? Where does that leave Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going to be this universal store of value?
Yeah, I mean, the store of value is what Bitcoin is. Think of it as gold 2.0. It has all the same attributes essentially as gold, except for it's better in a number of ways. It performs all of the essential functions, and you can move it faster. And there's a lot of benefits to it being digital, as we've all learned once you start playing with digital things. Tangibility is a flaw, not a. I mean, it's much better once it's digital, and so it's going to, I think, continue to be a store of value. I continue to be very excited. Forks are obviously the big thing that we've been seeing last year, which with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and now a number of other forks. ICOs and call it applications on the blockchain. Were the first kind of half of the year, and the second half of last year was about forks. I think we're going to see the ICO sort of 2.0 market. Because now you have all of these funds forming. I'm seeing hedge funds, $100 million to $1 billion funds, forming in numbers that I can't even keep track of how many there are. And those institutions don't exist. So you have all these new institutions forming that are all going to be forming in the first half of this year. That capital is going to have to go somewhere. I mean, that's why I think the tsunami we may see drops, but I mean, I'm tingling.
Brock, that's a great hat. If I were to ask you to hang your hat on a number for the total market cap at the end of 2018, what would it be?
So it's impossible to say. So I'll give you a number, but I'd start with, or I'll give you a range. I'd start with it. I don't ever try to promote things, and anyone that ever says buy this invest in this. Hey, this is going to show you a great return. Generally, those are people that you shouldn't listen to. The people you want to listen to, because yes, there's a lot of newcomers to the industry. And when you have these types of returns with these types of numbers, you're going to get a lot of bad people that show up too, that are there to try and take advantage of you and try and rip you off. So the way that you avoid that is very simple. Don't invest in things, don't buy things that you don't understand. And so that means don't listen to people that try and sell you. What you're trying to do is find people that are trying to give you knowledge, information, so that you can go do research to be able to make your own informed decisions. If you make informed decisions, you're rarely going to go wrong. I mean, in terms of no one's going to rip you off. Yeah, markets are going to go up and down. You may get in at the wrong time. But when you see something that's transformational, it doesn't matter if you really buy in at the top. Just understand that this is a long game and don't invest in this stuff. Don't buy these tokens if you don't believe, in the long-term prospects. This isn't a get rich quick scheme get rich quick sort of scheme. This is something that's fundamentally like the internet, going to change the world for the better. And don't worry about like this fear of missing out thing. Get informed, make good decisions, buy, a small amount of tokens. I mean, that's the advice I try to give people. I say, buy $100 worth, go buy $10 worth, do something that you can, that is inconsequential, because you shouldn't be playing around in the space until you've at least learned the basics.
Okay. But what's the number?
So, the overall crypto market, obviously we could see big numbers, but the stock market during the internet days, when we saw the height of 99, early 2000, hit 7 trillion. And so we're at 700 billion, and that's not inflation adjusted. And that was when it was a Western only phenomenon. And I'd make the argument that the blockchain is going to have an impact probably 10 times larger than the internet.
Spencer Bogart, my good friend from Los Angeles. Spencer, what are your main themes for 2018?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's a few different ways to frame this, right? So I think one of the themes that we're thinking about here at Blockchain Capital is counterparty risk, right? So this has been a big issue for this industry from the very beginning, from the outset. I mean, if we think about one of the first big incidents with Bitcoin in a public eye was Mt. Gox, right? So a lot of customers lost their funds they had deposited on that exchange. And this is an ongoing risk for most people in the ecosystem. They're hesitant to deposit funds onto exchanges because they're at risk of nefarious insiders, outside hackers, or even just a government regulator that decides that all of a sudden they're going to shut down an exchange and seize the funds that are held there, right? So from an end user perspective, nobody wants to lose control of their funds. And over the past few years, we've seen a lot of smart developers trying to solve this problem via decentralized exchanges. The idea being that people can all of a sudden trade these tokens and these assets peer-to-peer without depositing them onto another exchange. So without ever losing control of their funds, right? So this would be a big step forward for the industry. There's lots of hurdles to make it really fluid and function well. But one of the ecosystems that we've been particularly focused on has been the 0x ecosystem. Right, so this is one particular approach to kind of solving this counterparty risk and creating decentralized exchanges. And we're seeing some pretty encouraging development going on businesses built on top of the 0x protocol.
So 0x listed on Bitfinex and is trading at a very high premium. Are there any other entry points into this category? Maybe something that's a bit cheaper?
The other kind of major players that usually kind of fall in that same type of discussion would be Kyber Network and Omise Go. Right, all of them take slightly different approaches. Personally, I've been most bullish kind of on the 0x approach, but it really remains to be seen. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions still in the space.
Spencer, any other categories or sectors that you're looking at?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say one of the other major kind of themes that we're thinking about is kind of privacy and fungibility. So if we think about whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, people don't want to have all of their transactions and all of their contracts made public for the whole world to see. I mean, if I am sending transactions to a bunch of people, I don't necessarily want everyone to be able to review them, right? And if I have business terms built into a smart contract on top of Ethereum, I don't want my competitors to be able to see it. And really, I don't even want my other customers to be able to see the terms of that particular relationship, right? So privacy is actually a pretty important, I think, fundamental building block for this industry as we go forward. To some extent, it remains to be seen whether this is something that requires a chain that's purpose-built for privacy, so something like a Zcash or a Monero, or whether it's something that we can bolt on top of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, ZK Starks being hopefully a privacy-adding element for Ethereum. But regardless, I think it's something that's worthwhile to pay attention to in 2018.
Spencer, I'm still looking at you. The stupid money's in the market. The plumbers, the hairdressers, the cab drivers, they all buying crypto. Is this the year where we see the correction?
I think it's very possible. I've definitely gotten a little bit more nervous about market conditions over the past few weeks in particular. especially as we've seen a huge unit bias kind of emerge in the market as people just started looking for the coins that are all valued under $1. And you saw a very strong correlation between the returns of coins that are valued less than $1 and positive returns. So again, things that seem to indicate that the sophistication in the market is not very high. It definitely makes me a little bit nervous about where we're headed. That said, I mean, I think that long term, this industry can kind of outperform the current valuation, but short term, there could be some headwinds.
Is the institutional money going to come in before or after the Great Correction?
That's a great question. I think that really brings us into maybe kind of our third major theme that we're thinking about out there, which is demonstrated utility. So we're looking for projects that have actually demonstrated utility and not just future promises to deliver that utility. And then thinking just in general about fund flows, right? So if in general there's going to be a flow of capital into a particular asset, you should expect the price of that asset to increase. And so really both of those things kind of harken back to Bitcoin. Right. So if I think about a coin that's demonstrating utility in scale today, I think Bitcoin's doing a great job of that by being an unseizable store of wealth, by being a digital gold. And I think that a lot of people in the world are using it for that particular use case today, and it's demonstrating its value in that respect. And then, as you mentioned, if the institutions haven't yet entered the market, we've just really seen the drawbridges to that institutional capital be lowered. But for now, the only thing they can really touch is Bitcoin, right? And they can only do that through things like the derivatives that have recently been rolled out, at least here in the US, and then future ETFs that could come out. So I think that in general, we're just barely seeing the doors open to institutional capital. And if anything, I think it flows into Bitcoin first, and then maybe longer term, it could go to other assets. So definitely very interested in Bitcoin in 2018 as well.
What about the shift from Bitcoin into alts? Is that a big threat or a big risk to Bitcoin?
Sure. I mean, certainly, it's been a big thing to watch has been the declining Bitcoin dominance, right? And I think that people are probably overinflating the significance of that declining dominance. I think it's pretty natural for a big bull market for the riskier, smaller, lower capitalization names to rise faster than the large ones, right? It's much easier for any company, any coin, any digital asset to grow from a very small base and to grow very, very rapidly from a small base, right? As opposed to when Bitcoin's already at such a large network size, it's much more difficult for it to just double, right? That said, I think that in a kind of pullback market, I think there'll be a natural flight to safety, the same way we see in equity markets. And the riskier things, the smaller names would likely sell off much harder and therefore kind of push Bitcoin's dominance back up. Now, I don't know if we'll ever see it back at kind of the 95% dominance that we saw, maybe even 12 to 18 months ago, but I do think it'll rise again.
Ronnie Moas, I'm coming to you next. I know you're on holiday. We've got a very bad line to you today, but I know you've got some strong and clear views for where the market is going in 2018, and I couldn't have this show without your views.
Well, my view on crypto has not changed since I entered this arena in early July and set a $50,000 target on Bitcoin. The way that I get to this valuation is as follows. We have currently $200 trillion in the world tied up in cash, stocks, bonds, and gold. That's $25,000 for every man, woman, and child. $200 trillion, stocks, cash, bonds, and gold. All four are overvalued. My reasoning is as follows. I believe that 2% of that $200 trillion will find its way into cryptocurrency in the next few years. And that would give us a $4 trillion valuation for the entire space. And that would be around 5 times where we are today. If Bitcoin holds on to its market share, that would give it a $75,000 coin price.
Wow, that's a much more systematic approach than we've had from our other guests. And it covers Bitcoin. What about the rest of the crypto market?
Well, my concern in the near term is that we had a big rotation out of Bitcoin and into the altcoins recently. Since Bitcoin rolled over from its $20,000 high a few weeks back, its market share dropped from more than 60% to less than 40%. And my concern here is that the altcoins are a little bit overextended right now. And I'm looking for that rotation to reverse itself in the next few weeks and in the next few months, so that Bitcoin will end up moving back towards the 50% market share and $20,000 coin price that we had a few weeks back. my target for 2018 on Bitcoin was recently raised from $20,000 to $28,000.
Ronnie, what is the magic number? What will the crypto market cap be at the end of 2018?
I think we probably could get to half of where we are. Half of what my $4 trillion target. I think we could get halfway there. I think we could make it to $2 trillion by the end of the year.
Oded Ben-Dror, shalom, ma shlomcha. Oded, you're the community head at eToro. You get to see the whole picture, the picture of what the whole crowd is doing. Why do you think that Ethereum is going up and the rest of the market, especially Ripple, is going down?
So if to judge what we can see from eToro sentiment and what users are doing in our ecosystem, we see a higher volume of people selling exactly XRP, Ripple, realizing their profits. And at the same time, we see more people start investing in Ethereum. That's what we see in eToro at the moment and over the last few days.
Oded, that makes perfect sense. But why do you think people are running to Ethereum? If I look at the board, Bitcoin is down, IOTA is down, Cardano is down, Ripple is down, and people are running to Ethereum. Why are they not running into Bitcoin?
So first of all, I think we see overall a lot of micro trends in the cryptocurrency community. Okay, Ethereum currently made some kind of an all-time high, and people feel secure after a long time that it wasn't the currency to go for. People are shifting, mainly huge gains they made out of Ripple recently, simply shifting it to Ethereum, who made several all-time highs during the last week, and feel confident as the short-term safe haven.
So one of the big advantages that eToro has is that they get the view of the entire community. Oded, you've got this view of the entire community. Based on what you are seeing from the entire community, is this the beginning of an Ethereum upcycle, or are we catching the tail end of one?
Well, if to judge from what we've seen over the last year, a lot of time there is a leading trend, a leading cryptocurrency for a short term. I think Ethereum is doing the round at the moment over the last few days, and it's very possible that it will continue to make a good run over the next few days.
You are a trading master. You see trading opportunities where others see coincidences. Charts and patterns are everywhere. You can run with the bulls or be at one with the bears. So don't waste another pip and take your talents to eToro. See why so many top traders choose us as their main trading platform. Start trading on eToro today.
In Forbes Africa, December-January, the smooth disruptor Adrian Gore. He made his name in health insurance, now he's taking on the banks in a business that made $6.5 billion in 25 years. Should you make your own money or find a job? It's a question for Africa. International investors may have overlooked Africa's gaming industry, but some entrepreneurs have found a lucrative spot in the continent's $310 million gaming market. Actress Terry Fairto on learning the art of storytelling from her grandmother. Now she's in Hollywood. All this and more in Forbes Africa, December-January.
We're going to get the lowdown on exactly what has been beating the rand. I mean, it's fallen against the dollar, but even more so against the euro and the pound.
He is looking at free education, which would be, they're estimating probably another 50 billion to 40 billion added to their deficit. Obviously, that paints a very, very bleak picture for South Africa.
The mere fact that state security can come and want to ban a book, while freedom of speech is enshrined now in our constitution, is completely ridiculous.
Thinking of building the future as you see it, think RMB.
We know that on average our infrastructure spend creates about 53,000 direct jobs every year.
Development cannot stop.
My goodness, what a week we have had.
And the better people stay, the better people eat, the better people live, the better efficient they are in their workplace.
President Robert Mugabe is still very much in control of both Zimbabwe and the military.
We were told that, he's been removed from power.
The following segment is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.
You are a trading master. You see trading opportunities where others see coincidences. Charts and patterns are everywhere. You can run with the bulls or be at one with the bears. So, don't waste another pip and take your talents to eToro. See why so many top traders choose us as their main trading platform. Start trading on eToro today.
So we've heard from the big names in crypto Twitter what they think the outlook's going to be for 2018. I've got a very special guest with me that's flown in all the way from Los Angeles to be live with us in studio. Luke Martin, venture coinist as you call yourself on Twitter. Over 90,000 Twitter followers. Luke, what do you do? What does your day look like?
I'm an investor. I'm a strategist on Twitter as well. So maintaining my positions, maintaining my own book, and then also working with a number of clients and also that audience on Twitter.
And how long have you been trading crypto for?
Trading crypto only since early 2017. So I'm relatively new to this space still.
Amazing, and over 90,000 Twitter followers. Luke, what's your outlook for 2018? What are you looking for in 2018?
Yeah, what I'm looking for in 2018, I'm actually going to show it here on this chart. I like to break things down in terms of Bitcoin and alts. I like to separate the two. So what we're looking at here, this is the ETH Bitcoin channel showing how expensive or cheap alts are relative to Bitcoin. Up here, the resistance, this red line, you have alts. This is the peak of the last alt cycle in June, and they've been downtrending for the last 3 to 6 months, all the way down to the very beginning of this current alt boom, really. It's a resurgence of alts. The bottom was here, December 7th and 8th. I kind of called this on the 10th, moved into alts more aggressively, also made this call on Twitter to maybe lengthen those targets out, and we've seen ETH and a lot of alts take off 2, 5, 10x.
So slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Why do you use ETH as the indicator for alts?
I use ETH up until a little bit ago. It still was the biggest alt as representative of the entire alt market. I used to use the Bitcoin channel, but things are a little bit more abstract now that Bitcoin has gone almost straight up.
So if I look at this graph that you've shown us, what you're actually saying is that we're in the middle of an altcoin run, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. I mean, it looks like it's going straight through the red line.
Exactly, yeah. So my thesis, or my view when I made this chart, was that they were going to outperform for the next 3 to 6 months. It's already been 1 month, and they are flying. So I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. If it gets to the top of the channel, it looks like we're crossing about midway right now. They are losing a bit of that value.
Now, when you talk about value, do you talk about value as compared to Bitcoin or value as compared to fiat? How do you evaluate your investments?
Yeah, this is a hot topic, especially on Twitter. I'm always looking at Bitcoin, especially as a trader. That's the opportunity cost of me moving that Bitcoin into alts. Maybe as the infrastructure improves and alts have more USD markets in the future, that won't happen. But right now, Bitcoin is the liquidity for all these alt markets.
So let me ask you a question. And I asked this question on Twitter. I bought a token and I paid 10 cents for the token. And the token went to 20 cents. I doubled my money. I felt like a hero. At the same time, Bitcoin went from $4,000 to $15,000. In your mind, did I make money or did I lose money?
Well, there's two ways to look at it. You did make money on paper, and you might have to pay taxes on that. But what you really should be looking at is the opportunity cost. If you just would have held your money in Bitcoin, you would have had a higher return. So that's kind of that's what you're thinking about all the time as a trader. Should you have taken that trade? Probably not.
So when you measure your personal portfolio, you only look at the total number of Bitcoins in your portfolio?
Correct. For the trading portfolio, yes, just because my account is still denominated in Bitcoin. In terms of investing in ICO investing, I think if you are putting in US dollars or fiat, the alternative case and looking at US dollars also helps.
Okay, so we've gone into 2018. The market's screaming. The alt market is running wild. We've never seen anything like this before. As a trader, what's your strategy? What are you buying and why?
There's three sectors that I want to focus on. I still like to look at things in a macro perspective. I'm looking at privacy coins, decentralized exchanges, and a new theme that I'm bullish on going into, I want to be positioned into, is interoperability.
Okay, let's slow down. So you're talking about privacy coins. Your favorite privacy coin, Zcash, Monero, Zcoin. What's your favorite privacy coin?
Monero being the biggest. I do like Monero, but Zcoin is my favorite privacy coin right now. Also because if you have enough Zcoin, you can run a Znode. You do collect that passive income from having a masternode.
So that's your pick when it comes to anonymity coins. Let's go to your next sector, which is, you said, decentralized exchanges.
Yep.
And in the decentralized exchanges, what's the entry point?
ZRX, I like, that's what I already have a position in. However, the next decentralized exchange coin that I'm looking at is Kyber. Vitalik's an advisor. I think it was priced a little bit lower, market cap's still smaller. So I like Kyber as well. The mainnet is also coming out Q1 2018.
And what about Omisego?
Omisego, I don't cover that one too much.
You don't cover that one. Okay, what's your third sector?
Third sector, interoperability. So this is a theme that I want to position into early, and it's kind of combining privacy and the decentralized exchange factors. The one coin that I'm looking at is WANChain.
Okay, well, let's take a step back. For the viewers who don't know what interoperability is, what do you talk about when you refer to interoperability?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a unique word, and especially to crypto. What I'm looking at there is these blockchains interacting with each other, right?
So the Bitcoin blockchain interacting with the Litecoin blockchain and the Ethereum blockchain.
Correct.
So the big play in this must be WANChain.
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
When are WANChain going to launch their product and then essentially give all the people that participated in the ICO their tokens?
Well, it hasn't been announced yet, but I'm keeping an eye on sometime at the end of January. That's kind of the sentiment right now.
And are you saying that right now you're going underweight into Bitcoin and putting your money into ICOs and alts?
Correct. Ever since the resurgence, so ever since December 10th, I got more aggressive in my alts, both in terms of longer term investments. I wanted to build into those positions, and also in the trades, I'm letting them run a lot longer.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I think it's only fair because I put everyone else on the spot.
Yep.
Total market cap at the end of 2018, where do you hang your hat?
It's so hard to pick a number. You know, the only thing I can guarantee is more high volatility. Let's say at least 5 trillion.
So you're saying we're going to go up from 700 billion to 5 trillion in 2018?
Yeah, I think we're going to give gold a run for its money.
You're going to give gold a run for its money?
Correct.
Luke, it's been amazing talking to you. For our viewers that want to get more of a fix, if this fix wasn't enough, we are hosting 2 events. We're hosting an event in Johannesburg on the 15th, Monday the 15th, and we're hosting another event with Luke on the 14th in Cape Town. If you want to get tickets, tickets are very limited. Go to my Twitter, @CryptoManRun, and you can book on the Quicket link. We'll see you on the 14th and 15th, where we can get another dose of some Luke Martin content. If you're a fan of blocks and chains, you'll be bummed if you miss this next segment. The porn industry has just been spanked by its very own token. And it shouldn't surprise you that this token has been one of the best performing tokens since its ICO. The SpankChain token has gone up over 25x in value. I must say, initially I was a little skeptical, but let me tell you, this token should pique your interest. With me on the line, all the way from Los Angeles, is the founder of the SpankChain token, Amin Soleimani. Amin, why does the porn industry need a $150 million token?
The porn industry needs a $120 million token and perhaps more because of the unfair payment practices and the embedded discrimination in the financial industry. So the porn industry needs its own token so that it can unite against these unfair payment practices for the benefit of all performers and businesses in the space.
What is SpankChain? What does it actually do, and how does it solve this problem?
Yeah, so SpankChain provides economic and technological infrastructure for the adult entertainment industry. We build things like payment networks. We build connectors to the Ethereum blockchain, identity systems, advertising systems, video systems, anything that you need in order to launch your own business in the adult entertainment space, we will build and offer as a public utility. And we will offer metered access to this public utility, and it will be controlled by our token, which is the SpankCoin.
I mean, let's talk practically. I'm assuming my wife's not watching this show. How would I use the SpankChain token?
You would utilize the SpankChain token by staking it in the SpankBank smart contract and using that to mint new booty tokens, which would be each redeemable for $1 worth of SpankChain fees. So if you were a user, you would be then using the booty that you generate to tip models. If you were a model or a performer, then you would be using that booty, either you generate it or you'll pay for it as a percentage of your fees, and it'll be used to pay for the fees that you'll incur using our platform.
Wow, that sounds really genius. It's almost turning me on. If I understand it correctly, if I'm a porn star, a model, I buy the SpankChain token, I leave it in my wallet, it generates booty tokens, and then I'd use these booty tokens to pay for space on the porn site.
Yeah, so our fee structure is for our cam site, for example, that we would charge 5% fees. And so that's 10 times less than the existing companies in the adult cam space. And so typically models would just pay that out of their earnings. It would be the same in this case, except if you're getting paid in Ether, then you would convert it into booty, and this would all be handled for you under the hood, and then we would earn our fees in the booty token.
Okay, look, I'm asking for a friend here. Assuming I have a friend that watches porn, I can purchase, in fact, no, he can purchase the Spank token, stake it in the wallet, earn the booty token, and then use the booty token to pay for content.
So the idea is that while we're not enforcing any currencies that models have to accept, they can accept whatever Ether or ERC20 token on the Ethereum network that they want. They're likely to accept booty because they have to pay their own fees in booty. So as a user, you'll be generating a token that they'll be valuing.
So I mean, does it end there? What can we expect next from SpankChain?
Yeah, so we're trying to launch our cam site that'll showcase our technology, including our in-browser payment channel-enabled wallet called Vinos in Q1 of 2018, so in the next 2 months. From there, we will be modularizing our components around, payments and video and so forth, so that we can offer those as a service for the rest of the industry. Also, we'll be building in partnership with District 0x a platform called the Red Light District, which will be a clip site for static content for videos, pictures that you want to sell directly to your fans.
I don't know about you, but things are certainly looking up for me. Just a reminder that we will be hosting those 2 events, one event in Cape Town on Sunday the 14th and one in Johannesburg on Monday the 15th. Tickets are very limited. If you do want tickets, go to my Twitter and find the pinned tweet and you'll find the registration link there. Next week, we're coming to you live from Miami. We'll be covering the Bitcoin North America conference. We'll be streaming interviews live on my Twitter. I'll see you next week. Until then, to the moon.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by Element, a full-service investment bank for the digital token capital markets.
People say you'll be lonely at the top, but is that really what success is? I've always felt there's another way. That starts with we, not me. If you're on the rise, rise together, why not? Because it doesn't matter what people say. Everyone wins when you win the right way.
In the December-January issue of Forbes Africa, we travel to Uganda, to Nakasero State House, to spend an afternoon with First Lady Janet Museveni. From there to the simmering streets of Zimbabwe, to capture the last days of the Mugabe era. We look at 50 years since Dr. Christian Barnard performed the world's first human heart transplant. Then a stunt double and her dangerous life. All this in Forbes Africa, out now.
At the end of the day, this channel is about money, and money impacts every single person across the world. If you aspire to make money, you should be watching CNBC Africa actually on a daily basis.
I think CNBC has been able to tell the African story in such a compelling way.
We interview more than 10, 15 people on a daily basis. Those are quality entrepreneurs, quality businessmen.
And probably the next generation will look with awe to say that's where the story started.